And these are the days that everything is now this LED technology. I have started to leverage the crap out of this, right? Because I have full control. Back in the day when it was a Maxi Brute and I wanted to take it down, I had to turn bubbles off. This is all on a dimmer board. I can change different color temps. I can go into spot and flood. If we had Fresnels on here, we could actually flood and spot them remotely. We rig this to the basket in a way that we can tilt and pan the basket so we don't need anyone up in the lift. So it becomes this amazing light that gets above. And as you can see, these trees are very tall around us. So we got to get up very high to be able to do a beautiful even wash. And that's where our kind of, Nanlux 4 cluster of lights will come into. All right, Brendan, now how are you going to make this a reality? And my God, can I put all these lights in this lift?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, what you'd like to do is have the cluster of Nanlux lights up here, so that'll be 4 of them. And then down below you'd like a mover, and we'd like to spread them out a little bit.
Absolutely, one on left, one on right.
Right, so what we would do traditionally is we'd rig stuff off of candlesticks in the basket, and then we'd come up with some sort of rig below the basket. So what's super important is, if we go over here to the whiteboard, each lift has a capacity, right? And so it's the capacity of the boom arm, and you don't want to overweight it. That's very bad, right? Things can happen, things can break. That's when people get hurt and stuff. So this 1200 Ultra has an unrestricted capacity of 500, and it has a restricted capacity of 1000. And this is just in reference to the reach chart. So if you look at the reach chart for this lift, you'll see a little diagram that shows you the range for the unrestricted and the range for the restricted. And so as long as you are staying within that range, then you are good for both of these weights. But if we add all this up and it's over 500 pounds, we have to stay in the restricted range of the arm. So let's go back to how we would do this traditionally. So this is a front view of the bucket. And what we would normally do is we would get my red marker here. We'd throw a candlestick in the front. And so this is just speed rail that goes straight up. Let's stick in this bottom one. Right, and up top is a candlestick maker, and that's where it gets its name from. And then up top we'd throw one of the Nanlux lights, and that's what we'd call a candlestick rig for a light. If you wanted to duplicate it, you could do one to the right, you could do one to the left, you could stack them, whatever works for your weight rating, right? But we're not going to do it this way because let's see, we have to add the movers at the bottom, and we may need extra support here for this candlestick because that cage is awesome. It houses 4, but it might be a little heavy. So what we're going to do instead is this, and this is still a front view, and this is the front of the basket. This is our candlestick here. Red is speed rail, and then this is our cluster of 4 Nanlux lights up top. That's the basket. Again, we're going to take a look at this, see if it needs more support, and we'll add that if it does. This whole thing's a process. We want to make sure that safety is paramount in any sort of rig. And then at the bottom here in purple, we're going to use some of our 6-inch modulus X truss. Down here, we're going to strap it to the bottom of the basket, and then that is how our movers are going to be rigged at the bottom. So it's important, so we have all this stuff, now we want to see if it's possible, right? So what you need to do is you actually need to add up all the weights. And so we're going to add up the speed rail, the cage, the lights, the movers, the truss, and then things you don't think about are the cheese burrows to attach the candlesticks, right? The pipe for the kickers for the hard mount on the modulus X truss, the cable for the lights. You want to take all that stuff into account because all of that stuff matters when you're talking about weight rating for the bucket. So what you would end up with is 929.2 pounds. Pretty heavy. If you were to do it without the movers, you'd end up with 682.2. And so now that I have all this info, I can approach Shane with, hey, do you want the movers? Do you want to maybe only do one mover? Are we going to need to move this thing? Do you want a guy living in the basket? Because that adds weight as well, which is things that you have to account for. The next thing to do is have that discussion and then rig it up.
Yeah, and with that discussion, he's going to tell me that, restricted is going to probably limit my height. I probably would only get 100 feet maybe. Yeah. So in this location, that's going to be okay. So these are all the wonderful things that we go through, especially when we're in our kind of prep. You know, we go, we tech scout these locations, we see what they are. I talk to them about what I would like, and they see if they can make it a reality. But every single time, if they come back to me and say, Shane, this is going to overload the lift, I don't feel this is good, I come up with a different plan, because safety is paramount on set. And 100 times 100, I'm going to always circle back and go, okay, then let's lose a mover, or let's do it a different way with lighter lights. But for this one, I'm okay with the restricted at 929. I know 100 feet is going to be fine for me. And looking up on that chart, like Brendan said, is a huge aha moment for anyone looking at condors and the way they work. Because the more you bring it down like this, the less you can put out on that end. So up here, you can put a lot of weight, correct?
Definitely, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, the higher and more straight up, plenty of weight. The minute you start coming down and starting to extend out, that's where you start to get into trouble.
Yeah.
So now let's get this party started and get you starting to rig this Condor.